Concreting in the posts with the hinges already welded onto the posts and gates. This is not the way most would do it. Either I'm a genius or a fool.
I know which one I'm betting on, Des.
There's a wise saying that if you can't make it accurate, make it adjustable. So naturally, I didn't make them adjustable. I have welded the hinges to the gates and posts already. So I'm left with accurate. Oh boy. I got a driveway that's sloping and a fence that's an angle to the house and on a lean. Should be fun, right? In hindsight, making these hinges adjustable could have been very wise. But Dazza thought, no, I'll just do it my way, eh? Maybe I should have worked out how to make the hinges adjustable or just weld them onto the gates at the end like everybody else does. Maybe I'm a fool, but my thinking was that making the gates this way would make it nice and easy to weld the hinges on the gates and posts, which it was. Check out me doing just that in episode 3 of the Great Gates build. Also, doing it this way allowed me to have the posts and gate powder coated already. So once these posts are set in place, the project's almost finished. I also figured even if I was welding the hinges on later, the post would still need to be pretty close to perfect anyway. In episode 1 of the Great Gates build, I dug the holes deep enough to set these posts 600mm into the ground with the post sitting 50mm off the bottom. It was hard work, so I'm glad that's done already. It was the first thing I did so that I could be confident I could put the gates where I wanted them and size them accurately. It's getting exciting with the finish line in sight, and concreting in the posts will help confirm 2 things for me. 1, that welding on the hinges first worked, and 2, that my design to make the gates swing both inwards and outwards works. I'm pretty nervous as a lot hinges on these posts. They need to be level with each other, at the right height so the gates don't scrape on the driveway, and positioned so that when the gates shut, the gates meet up nicely with a minimal gap. Once the concrete is set on the posts, the only adjustments will be with a jackhammer and tears in my eyes. So fingers crossed you don't have to see that. All right, let's get it done, eh? The plan is that 1, the post on the fence side is going to get fixed to the fence using the fixing tabs I welded onto it, and then I will need to push and brace the post level as the fence is currently a little off. 2, the post on the house side is not getting fixed to the house and should be around 50mm or a couple of inches off the house. I will then brace that so that the gates line up with each other when hung. 3, I'll need to check and recheck that the gates line up perfectly before concreting the posts in, as any errors will be set in and can't be fixed later. 4, mix up the concrete in my wheelbarrow and set the posts in place. And 5, check the final result and pray my gates line up with each other with a small gap and swing both ways like I planned. Sounds easy enough, right, Daz? What could go wrong, eh? Bracing the posts turned out trickier than I expected. The posts need to be spaced off the bottom of a hole, and I was using quick clamps to try and achieve this. The clamps kept slipping on the powder coating, and so I ended up putting a wooden block under the post to set the height. Once I had it close to right, I put some nails under my fixing tabs to hold it temporarily. The driveway is sloping, so I am checking that the gate won't hit the driveway when it swings outwards. Once I have the post set to the correct height and plumb, I fix it to the fence with the tabs I had welded on for this purpose. I constantly check the gate's operation at every step of the process. I'm also using a handy little post level that is held onto the post with a rubber band to check the post's plumb. Alright, onto bracing the second post. This post will be freestanding and not attached to the house, and it proves quite tricky to brace, as I can't just drive stakes into the ground and prop from those like you would typically do for a fence post. I want to use a prop running across from the fence, so I decide first to use a brace to push the fence to level, as it's just a little off. Jamming a piece of timber between the rail of the fence and the driveway works in the end to achieve this. Back to bracing the second post, and my clamps are constantly slipping on the powder coated post. I try stronger, gruntier clamps. I try wrapping the post in masking tape to add friction. I try multiple times and just can't get it to stay put. Oopsie! Lucky I noticed at this point that I had the gates upside down. I can't get the second post to stay put and I am running out of day. I have been able to check the swing of the second gate, and so I am confident now that the first post is in the right place and it's well braced, so I cut my losses and decide to concrete the first post in. Concrete time. I spray a little water in the hole as it's very dry and I don't want the ground sucking the moisture out of the concrete while it's setting. For a small job like this, I have gone with pre-mixed bags of concrete. It's not the cheapest solution, but it's convenient. I spent about $130 on these bags. For a bigger job, you can just buy bags of cement and a trailer load of aggregate. It is way cheaper and costs a similar amount to do around a dozen post holes. I bought a few high-strength concrete bags. These have a higher cement ratio. Some of these pre-mixed bags say you can just dump it in the hole and add water, but mixing the concrete properly will give you stronger concrete, and these posts need to be nice and strong for my gates, so I'm using a spade and mixing it in my wheelbarrow. I'm mixing between 2 and 3 20-kilogram bags at a time in each batch, and it's hard work for a weekend warrior like myself. Standing at the head of the wheelbarrow and pulling the spade towards you works best. Concrete should be vibrated to remove any air bubbles. I just used the spade to try and achieve this. Don't do it, Daz. Remember how you worked in the dark and spilled all that paint in the last video? Nah, Daz, leave the second post. It'll still be there tomorrow. Day 2 and 18 hours later, as I am just getting this job done in the evenings after work, and the post is nicely set. The concrete will get harder over time, and the exact curing time depends on weather and mix of the concrete, but full strength is typically reached in about a month. The concrete should be kept moist during this time as it cures. I still struggled quite a bit propping the second post. Eventually I lowered the brace on the fence side and added 2 more braces from the ground, and this was enough to stop the post slipping down into the hole and stay where I wanted it. As there are clamps and props in the way, I will use a bucket and a scoop to get the concrete into this hole. You can make a scoop out of a cut up bottle or container. One with a handle works well. As I had so much struggle propping this post, I give it a final check after the first batch of concrete to settle my nerves. I underestimated the concrete. I had bought 10 bags and ended up using 13, as it's hard to exactly measure a hole dug in the ground. So I dropped into the hardware store on my way home from work the next day for the 3 extra bags to top up the 2 holes. It's not ideal to have a cold joint in your concrete. You should ideally pour it all at once. Kiwi Daz is just a little bit pleased with himself at this point. The gates close together with a nice even gap between them and align with each other perfectly. This is important because I'm pretty fussy, But I'm also going to make a custom steel sliding bolt to hold the two gates in the closed position. Subscribe to see me do that and other cool projects. The gates also swing both ways, just as I planned. I was pretty confident this would work, but it took a little bit of head scratching and planning, so I'm stoked the plan came together. I've just got to top up these holes, clean up, and job done. This project is turning out even better than I had hoped. This is only my second major project using my MIG welder, and I couldn't be more chuffed with myself. What do you reckon? Should I have just welded the hinges on after like everybody else? Leave me a comment on what you think. I'll definitely be making more things out of steel now that I can. My next big steel project will be after I finish a floating shelf in the lounge and renovating some bedrooms and bathrooms in the house. But it will be even more challenging than this, I think, as I want to make steel handrails for the stair and landing inside to match the steel barrier that I built already. But I'm getting ahead of myself. In the next few videos, I'll be getting these gates finished. There's stained horizontal timber slats getting fixed on and a custom metal sliding bolt, and these gates are a wrap. See you next time. Thanks for watching, and I hope I'm inspiring you to get it done on your project.